Stop watering dead plants. Now, I was actually going to record a podcast episode on this topic, but I was struggling to come up with a title for it, and it was only when I'd been going through Dan Meredith's Instagram wall today that I saw the ideal quote that summarised everything I was about to explain. And Dan had put that quote on his Instagram page, which was, don't water dead plants, or stop watering dead plants. It was something along those lines, but I'm sure you probably get the idea. Now, Dan unfortunately has gone through a rough time at the moment. One of his family members passed away, and again it's probably put the idea in his head of how kind of short life is and how important it is to focus on what you should be doing in your life, because we're only going to get one run at this, so why waste, why kick your plans, your dreams down the road, hopefully starting them one day and then finding out maybe it's too late to do it. So Dan, as he's been saying in the last couple of posts, is just to live a life with no regrets. Start whatever you want to do now instead of waiting and keeping it off in the future maybe when you don't have a chance to do it. So in his post he had mentioned about watering or stop watering dead plants. Now he had said that, if I'm just paraphrasing what Dan said, but he had said that it's time maybe to stop wasting your time on relationships that aren't helping you, maybe people who are dragging you down, who maybe are knocking your confidence, who are saying that you can't be a writer, that you can't do this and you can't do that. It's time maybe to stop watering those relationships. It's time to stop maybe spending as much time with those people as you used to. And again too, if you are somebody who maybe is coaching and teaching, maybe it's time to stop putting so much effort into helping those people that you can't help. Now, this past couple of months, one of the things that has probably annoyed me a little bit, I used to do coaching and then I stopped doing it. And the reason I stopped doing it was more of a kind of me than anything else. What I found was, when I was doing coaching, when I gave somebody instructions to do, I would love if they would actually take action on those instructions. I would love this if I had given them the information and I said to them, well, this is how you plot a book out, this is how you start it, here's the middle bit, here's the finish bit, and there is the bones of your story. And then I might go back to that person and I'd say, well, how did you get on? And then they would say to me, well, I didn't have time to start it yet, I'll probably do it maybe next week or whatever. Now, again, this is me, this is probably more reflection on me, but I hate wasting time on people who won't actually take action on the advice I give them. And as you're probably well aware, if you've listened to some of the past episodes where I'd mentioned about that family member that I've been trying to help out publishing her books, and she took all my free advice and tossed it away. You'll find all that information in the podcast episode. I think it is Stop Giving Away Your Knowledge for Free. So if you'd like to know the full story, go ahead and listen to that episode. But when I was reaching out to, again, coaching those people, that was one thing that frustrated me. And as Dan had said perfectly in that quote, maybe it's time to stop wasting your time with those type of people. You're never going to be able to change those type of people. The only person I can try with all my might to make somebody take action, but at the end of the day, it's that person themselves that has to take action. Even a couple of months back, I had a lady get on to me who said that unfortunately she was going through a rough time. She was a little bit strapped for cash, and that she really, really wanted to get her hands on one of the products I had released. It was a bit kind of outside her price bracket, but she would love to get a copy of it. Now, me being a kind of a soft touch, I had said to her, well, you know what we'll do? Let's do a trade. I'll reduce the price, especially for you. This is a kind of one-off. But what I want from you is that you would maybe just give me an honest testimonial of the product. Let me know how you get on with it. And again, I don't want you to think that I'm twisting your arm because I'm reducing the price. I want an honest testimonial. If the product sucks, if it doesn't do what I said it would do, please let me know. Now, that was a couple of months back, and unfortunately I'm still waiting for that testimonial, which proved the point that sometimes, even though you really, really want to help somebody, they may be going through a hard time, they may have the worst case at the moment. Again, it could be somebody who's going through a rough time with coronavirus. Maybe they're laid off, maybe they're crying that they've got no cash, and they're saying, please, please, please help me. You find that, unfortunately, even with your best efforts, you can't make that person take action. As I said, I don't even know if that lady actually opened the product. if she actually looked at it. But going from her actions of not actually giving me a testimonial, it did kind of open my eyes up to, should I really have done that? What was the point in doing that? Because if she wanted the product really that much, she would have had, done whatever she could to get her hands on it. I remember in my own case years ago when I was really strapped for cash. We were really low. It come to a stage that we had come to the kitchen press. As you're probably well aware, if you do a lot of shopping, you probably have a lot of tinned food, but there's probably cans at the back of the press that are there for probably months. Because you're putting fresh content in, fresh cans, you're probably going for them first, and those cans are kind of left over at the back of the press. They're probably never ever looked at, unless maybe you can't get down to town, and then you're kind of stuck looking at those handful of cans that you've never ever opened. And then you say to yourself, well, there's a time maybe I should open these now and try and get some use out of them. And back at that time I was strapped for cash, and we were kind of going through those cans, like the last couple of ones that were in the press, because we hadn't got much money at the time, and we were just eating whatever we could get our hands on. But I was also into multi-level marketing, and we used to drive for a couple of hours, about two nights a week. Even though we were strapped for cash, I put a lot of money probably into the gas for the car to get us to our multi-level meeting. Now, we used to drive all the way up to the hotel. I think it was like 2 hours drive from where we lived, but we didn't have a babysitter at the time. And what we would do is we would take the kids in the car and we would drive up to the meeting, and I would sit in the car. I would mind the kids. They were only babies at the time, so they weren't really much hassle. But I would sit in the car and I would mind them for the 2 hours in the car park outside the hotel. And my wife would go into the meeting and she would get as much information as she could, and then she would come out and tell me what she'd learned, what we could do next, and how we could make the business better. Now, I remember the gentleman that was the leader of our group brought Catherine up one night and said that she was a great example that other people should be looking at. The fact that she was willing to drive for a couple of hours 2 times a week, was willing for one of us to sit in the car to mind the kids while the meeting was going on, and not use an excuse, we couldn't get there because we had kids to mind, or all these different excuses other people could use not to be there. But we really wanted to make money from the business. We really wanted to learn. We really wanted to do whatever we could. And again, as he said, it was rare for people to do that. But again, we needed the cash, and we needed to get ahead. We needed to make some money and bring it in. And unfortunately, you'll have people like that who will cry and they'll whine and everything's falling apart, and yet they won't do the least thing to help themselves. Again, even go back to these podcast episodes. I used to have a question at the start of some of the early ones where I would ask at the end, if you need any help or if you'd like to ask me a question, if you could just reach out. I'll try my best to cover that in an episode. Now again, I have people on my list who will moan and complain, say they're not getting ahead, they've got problems with this or with that, but they'd never take the opportunity to reach out to me and ask me and say, Barry, you know something, would you cover this question for me in a podcast episode? When they have the opportunity to ask somebody, for free knowledge, not going to cost them a penny, they don't do that. In fact, I remember hearing before at a Bob Proctor seminar, he had said the people who really need the seminar the most are the people that aren't at it. The people that need it the least were the ones that were sitting in the seats. And I don't know what situation you're in, but I'm sure you're probably hungry for knowledge. You probably want to be a better writer. You probably want to earn more money from your books, or you want to pick up some information. And again, you could be like I was in that situation years ago. You could be strapped for cash. But if you are listening through these podcast episodes, I want to thank you. I want to congratulate you on putting that effort, for being hungry for knowledge, for trying to get it as best you can. Because as I said, there are people out there who I could take all this knowledge, I could throw it at their feet for free, and they would just walk by it and they would still moan and cry, saying, oh, woe is me, I'm not getting ahead in life. And yet everything is at their feet, but they're probably too lazy to actually bend down and pick up that information because it's too much of an effort for them. But again, they'll cry and moan saying, it's awful the way things are, I can't make money from my books, I can't do this and I can't do that. They'll also be the same people that won't go to YouTube and try and find as much free information on YouTube as you can. You can find some amazing knowledge on YouTube, But a lot of people won't do that. You know, some people say, oh, the thing that's holding me back at the moment is I can't create a landing page, an opt-in page. I don't know how to work my autoresponder series. I don't know how to do this and I don't know how to do that. And yet they never ever think of going up to YouTube, doing a search there for a couple of hours to find that answer, because again, they don't want it enough. So again, this episode probably seems a little bit of a rant. Maybe it is a little bit of a rant. Unfortunately, again, you know, there is some people you can't help, even though you really, really want them to make a difference in their life, but they just aren't doing that. So again, if we circle back to that original title, I was actually lost there for a second. I couldn't think what this podcast episode was actually called. But as I said, it's Stop Watering Dead Plants. Again, stop wasting time with people who are kind of time vampires, who are probably product vampires, who are probably energy vampires, and other people who are just take, and who don't give anything to you, and you know, will moan and cry and kind of look for help off you, but don't actually want to take the action themselves. So stop watering the dead plants in your life. The people, maybe the coaching people you are trying to coach at the moment, you know, cut the ties, get rid of them all. Again, you know, going from what happened to me, you won't find me giving out products as easily in exchange for low testimonials. If somebody can't afford to come up with the product, well then I'm sorry, you're just going to have to break a couple of piggy banks open to get that money from it. But you're never going to get a reduced product in exchange for testimony or something like that, because as I say, once bitten, twice shy. It's never going to happen again, because as Dan said, it's time to stop watering dead plants. So give that some thought today. You know, do you really want to get on as far in your business as you're telling everybody you are? You know, if you're not, well then why aren't you on YouTube using that free information out there? Why aren't you using opportunities like me and other people are giving you to ask a simple question and get an answer to it? Why aren't you doing things like that? Do you really want it enough? Are you willing to, you know, sit in a car park with your kids for a couple of hours on a cold and frosty night because you really need to make money? If you haven't got that desire, I'm sorry to tell you that you're never ever going to make it. So keep that in mind today. Again, sorry if it was a bit of a rant, but I just needed to get some stuff off my chest, and hopefully maybe the people that are, you know, that I am speaking about, maybe they will at some time come to this podcast episode and maybe listen to it. Again, I'm not taking a pop at them. They probably are nice people, but it's time for me to cut the ties from all those dead plants and stop trying to water them. So, as always, if you'd like to find any more of these podcast episodes, if you do a search for WriteCome, that's WriteCome.com, you'll find the content all over the web. You'll find it in Google, you'll find it in Yahoo, iTunes, or whatever. Do a search, you'll find WriteCome all over the place. And again, if you go over to the WriteCome site right now, I've got a great free report which is called Words to Wealth. If you want to download it, I'm going to show you 10 different ways you can make money from your keyboard from home. So if you are strapped for cash, and again, if you're someone who is willing to put the work in and not just moan and cry and not do anything about it, then maybe that report isn't for you. But if you actually want to take action on it, head over, download the free report, and let me know how you get on with it. So as always, thanks for sharing your time again today. Sorry about the rant. Have a great day. Take care. Bye bye.